What we're going to be doing today is changing out a cradle or a subframe, if you will. This is a 2002 Dodge Neon. Now, what we have here is a frame that has gone bad, a cradle on a 2001. What we're going to be doing is taking this cradle off of this particular Dodge Neon and sticking it on this one here. This is a 2001 Dodge Neon. Now, from about 2000 to 2005, I do believe the frames are all the same. Now, we went to get this car inspected, and in the state where I live now, they're really cracking down. The subframe under here has just a little place on it, about 4 inches, and they would not pass this vehicle. What we're going to do is just go ahead and swap the cradle out. Now, the interesting thing is I went online and I found out that they are selling these cradles for these Dodge Neons still today. They are quite a bit online for sale. And check this site here out. And as you can see here, eBay is just full of these subframes. You can get them shipped to your place for less than $200. Some of these are $300 and $400. They're brand new. But right off the bat, the first thing I come up to here is you can get one for $164. And they have sold 71 of these. So there's something about Dodge Neons. I guess if you have a decent car, runs pretty good. People love to keep them, but you still can't get these front suspension, subframe, cross members for your Dodge Neon. You can see there, people still like these little cars. So I figured, you know, it was worth probably making a video to show you if you want to change yours out, if you have the same problem I have. Now, what we'll do later when I take this out on this one, I'm going to show you the place that's actually bad on the frame. Let's go under my 2002. And by the way, I love this car, but during a hurricane down south about a year or so ago, a wall fell on it and it crunched the back of it, so that was the end of this. But still a lot of good parts on this, and here is the subframe on this that we're taking off. It's not too bad to take off, so I figured I would do a quick tutorial. This is not going to be 100% step-by-step, but hopefully this will help somebody out that has a Dodge Neon and they want to keep it and fix their cradle and continue driving, because these cars are great on gas, although they're not, you know, the best cars in the world, but still, people like to have things and drive cars on a budget, and this is what this certainly does. This car is really easy on gas. So let's go front. I'm going to show you what I've done so far. There's not a lot to do here. You see here, I've got some tools. I've got some metric sockets here, and I got some extensions, and I got a breaker bar, and I've got a couple bigger sockets. I believe this one here is a 1-inch socket, and we've got some other ones here. I believe this one's probably going to be 22 millimeter, and we got some bolts to take off. Now, let me just show you what I've done so far on this car. On this, I've got it blocked up fairly well. So if you're going to do this, by the way, let me just kind of talk about this. Make sure you got it blocked up really nice there. That way, it's not going to go anywhere. I actually have both sides blocked up here. Let me show you real quick. And you can see this side is blocked up with a steel beam. I got 4 of those. These things are really nice to have, and it's holding it up really nicely. So what I've done so far, I've gone ahead and taken off the axles here and the hub. There's the hub laying over there. This stuff is just a lot easier to take off because you do have to take the lower ball joint out, and when you take this hub off, it's easier just to get this out of the way because your lower control arm here is connected to the subframe, and you can see it's really loose and about ready to come out. And you got to take your hubs and your brakes off and your calipers and maybe kind of hang them up a little bit out of the way. I'll deal with this here in a few minutes. And pull your axle back, and this side is pretty much done. Now if you want, you can go ahead and, you know, get you a wire or something and kind of hang this up. I'll do that in a few minutes. Now, being on this side here, I didn't go ahead and take these 2 strut bolts out here and just pop this out. And when you put it back in, it's not that big of a deal. There are no alignment issues. And I do believe, let's see, where's it laying? Oh, there it is, right there. And actually in pretty good shape yet. On this side, the 2 main bolts that hold the cradle on this side, one's right here, and this one here is ready to come out. I actually put grease in there, oiled it up, and got me a breaker bar, broke that loose, and you have one right here. Now this one, right here, was a little difficult to do because I had to put oil up in there and kind of get it broke loose. And if I look here, I think I can find the bolt for you and show you how big it is. It is a monster bolt. There's the size of that. So that's got to come out. But if you can shoot oil up into this little place right here on top of that bolt right there and let that kind of soak a little bit, you can actually get this out, but you will have to have some patience and a little bit of muscle and work it back and forth and get that out. And that's the only two bolts that hold the cradle in. Now let's go to the other side over here. And also you get your tie rod in here, just kind of knock it out of the way. And this side here is pretty much free. On the passenger side, we basically did the same thing. You know, we took our axle nut off. I forgot to tell you about that on the other side, but it comes off. There it is. Got everything unhooked here. Got the ball joint and the hub, rotors, everything disconnected on this side. Got the bolts out here and got the tie rod end off, and we're good here. And I've already got one of the bolts out right there. And let me just show you that real quick. There is the anchor pin for that on top of this bolt. This is what you got to lube up a little bit, and it makes it come off easier. Actually, that long bolt, let's see, let me go back to the other side here real quick. I think I misspoke. Oh no, I did not misspeak. Okay, no, this is the one on the bottom. Same thing on the other side. All right, let's go back to the other side. But this bolt actually goes down here, and that little bolt goes right there that I just showed you, which is this stuff here that goes in here. Now, I haven't taken this bottom one out yet. I'm letting the oil soak on that. And also I want to keep that up in there. And also I've got to take this, got a little guy here loose. And that is basically the big stuff. Now we've got a couple smaller bolts underneath. We'll look at those real quick. Alright, so we're back underneath. And like I said, I wasn't going to make a video on this, but I just know someone has probably got the same issue if you live in the Northeast. This is the power steering cooler. There are two small bolts that hold this on the top of the rack. And see those guys right there? Those little, let's see if I get my camera right. Right there and right there. There are bolts on top of this frame right here. You have to stick your hand above this and get you a small socket. Here is the socket that I was using, and it's a small one and enough to get a 10, I think this is a 10 millimeter. Yes, 10 millimeter socket on that bolt. And there are two of these that you have to take out. Once you get those out, you can get that cooler, release it from the frame. And once you get it unbolted, you can pull it out of the way and you can move it, and you can get in there a little bit better and get your hands up in there if you need to do anything else. Now, I elected to keep the power steering lines hooked up and all that, and I didn't want to disconnect it from the steering wheel because it's just too much stuff to worry about. There's only 4 bolts that hold this rack and pinion in, and there's the rack and pinion. I think you can see it with my finger right here pointing on it. We're going to unbolt this from the subframe because I just think it's a lot easier, and this is just how I do it. But if you want to do it differently, knock yourself out, but trust me, it'll save you some time. Now, the only issue is there are 4 bolts, and these you got to have a little patience with. Let me show you those, because if you can get these 4 bolts out and take a little extra time, trust me, it's well worth it. You're just about ready to drop this cradle out. So let me show you the bolts. And there are 4 of them. Here are the 2 that are on this side that I took out. And there are 2 on the other side that I took out, which are right here. Now, in order to get these out, I use an extension, especially on this side. I just took an extension and a swivel and got down there and got these loose. It's a lot easier that way. And then when you get them out, stick your hand down in there and pull them out. Let me get a light and I'll shine down in there and I'll show you where they were bolted to on the frame. Right, so I got my light here. I'm going to zoom down as best I can with my other hand here. And if I zoom in, there was where one of the bolts went, and right about, let's see, there is where the other one went. Right there. There it is. There's just enough room to get a socket down there and break those loose. These 2 weren't too bad. Now, the 2 on this side, it's a little bit harder, but you can do it. Let me show you how I did it. I went on this side and took off the battery tray, and it's right here, kind of laying, because when you have this air cleaner, I took this off too, just kind of pushed it out of the way. When you get this out of the way, along with the battery tray, you have a lot more room down here. But still, what you got to do is get your extension. And this was the hardest thing to do of this whole job so far, is get your hand down in here. Just take your extensions back over in where my finger is here, right here where my hand is, and just kind of get your ratchet down there on the bolts, the socket I should say, with your ratchet, and your extension is probably going to stick up here probably a couple of feet. And this is how I got these out. And same thing with the bottom. I basically, the bottom back one here was a little harder to get to. Now I apologize, I just don't have enough angle and light here to show you, but I think you probably get the idea. I put my hand way down here like this and made sure the socket got on the bolt and ran the extension up through here, and like that, and tuck it loose. And let me show you the extension that I got. Something like this. You know, I had the extension on the very, very far bolt on this side. I had the elbow or the swivel about midpoint, where it's almost touching the back of the firewall here. Then I put another extension on it like this and brought it straight up, and that way I could get to the bolt, because that bolt down there kind of sits behind that little line, which is right there, and it's not, you really can't get the socket on there at an angle. It has to go straight down, and that's why you gotta kind of use a swivel to angle your tool back up this way, kind of like that, to get it off, if it makes sense. So after getting that last bolt out, I just reached down there and pulled it out. You can actually lay down here too on the bottom, and you can get your hand back up under there, right about there, and you can pull that bolt out also. So that's basically how I did it so far. Alright, so we're back over here on the passenger side. I do have my caliper bungee cord up for some of you guys that'll be complaining. So everything over here is done, and all we have to do now, after I showed you all those bolts on the rack and pinion, is go ahead and get our bolts out. So since we got our bolts out of our rack and pinion and everything, you can see I can move this whole thing. You can hear it, and you can see our rack and pinion is loose, it's free, and when we drop this cradle down, it'll just drop straight off of that rack and pinion there. Alright, so we got our bracket and our bolt off right here for the front motor mount, right here. I think you can see that. This whole thing's ready to come down. All I have to do now is take off this bolt here, this big one on the bottom, and that one is a big one. It is a 1 inch. So I'll set the camera up on time lapse. You can watch me take this out, and this whole thing should just fall down. I think there's a small wire back there that's connected on the frame, but I think I can get that. But in a nutshell, this is basically how I've taken off this subframe. So hopefully, if you need to change yours out, this will give you a little bit of hope. Okay, you saw that. So let's pull this out. It's not really heavy. It weighs probably 50 pounds. I mean, I can pick it up, so. And there it is. Now I had to get back on this side and take out. I forgot to take this belt out here. It was hung up in there. Once I took it out, it just fell out. And here is the small wire. It's just a plug wire. It's got a little plastic connector on it, but that's what was hanging on the frame. That was no issue. But there's a look at underneath, and there's the rack and pinion just kind of hanging there, and there's where the bolts are. All right, here it is, and here is where the rack and pinion bolts up on this side, and here is where one of the bolts goes on the body, and there's where the other one goes. Same thing on that side. That one's a little rusted in there, but that oil makes a difference, trust me, if you let that soak. And here is where the other bolt is, and of course there's the ball joints. But this subframe's in good shape. Now on the other vehicle that would not pass inspection, if I flip this over, the other subframe has a place here where it's rotted out a little bit. Nothing like this. This has just got a few small places here. I can fix it. But anyway, I changed it out, and you don't have to take off your sway bar link. Although I'll replace these bushings, and I did twist a bolt off right here. Pretty common on these. I'll clean that up and put a bolt in there. But other than that, this one here, this 2002, is going to go on that 2001 subframe right there. This is the one that's got the place on the frame that's bad that they're complaining about. I've already got all the wheels, the axles, hub off. Pretty easy to do. The bolts are a little different on this. There's a few that are a little different sizes than the other one, but nothing to worry about. On the other one, I said that I had to get up under there and take a small ratchet and get that power steering cooler off. I believe that's what that is. It's underneath there. Well, I found out actually, if you just stand on top, take a 10mm, really long extension, you can actually just reach down in there and get that bolt off. I got one off, and here is the other, and I'm going to try to zoom in. I don't know how well this will work. There's the other bolt. It's holding that cooler on. The other one is already off, and it is right there where my finger is. Well, I don't think you can see it, but it's, let's see, right there. You can see where it was bolted there. It's out, and actually it was a lot easier just to take it out from up here on the top. I got one out, and it's actually right here. So I apologize, the video is getting blue looking. It's getting pretty dark out here. I'm trying to wrap this up before dark. But this frame is just about ready to come out. Just wanted to kind of clarify that you really don't have to get under there and put your hand up on that frame and try to get those two little bolts out. It takes a while. This is just so much easier. Live and learn, right? All right, so we'll go ahead and get that other one out. But I am now taking that last bolt out, and you can see this is how I'm basically doing it. It's just got out. And there it is, it's out. Now I gotta stick my hand down there and try to get it out real quick. There's the socket. Stick my hand down there. And there it is. So those are out. Okay, now you can kind of see it. Now it's loose. See, there's really no, it's really tight to get it up. Those two bolts there, you can't get your hand up in there. It's really tight. You could do it, but I found that it's a lot easier. All right, so at this point on this 2001 Neon, you can see how I got my ratchet there kind of going down. If you look closely right there, there's where the socket is, and there's the bolt. It's the last one taken out, and once we get this out, that rack and pinion will be free, which is great. See, there's one bolt. There's where the other one was, right about there. There's the one hole, and the other one is actually, let's see if I can find it for you here real quick. Well, it's really hard to hold the light and zoom in at the same time. So there's that one there, and there's the other one. So you can see these two over here are pretty easy to get to, and the driver's side, it's not too bad. There's the one right there. Let me zoom back out for you again. Let me zoom in. There's one right there. you can get a socket down in there, and the other one is right there. So not too bad. But if you get tired, just walk away and come back, and trust me, it works a lot better that way, because you get frustrated and you'll give up. And be prepared to drop a socket or two outside. I have, but I found them no problem. So let me show you real quick here. There's a rack and pinion. I can well, I still got the tie rod in hooked up here, but trust me, it is loose. This one's, you can probably see here. I can see I can pull this up and down real easy now, but it is loose. Okay, everyone, it's a new day. Here it is. It's out. We got the frame out. I just wanted to show you something here real quick. These bottom bolts, these big ones, if you soak them in oil overnight, get enough oil on the top of them, it makes these breaking loose so much easier. These came right out. But here is our suspect. And when you look at this frame, you don't see nothing but typical rust, right? That's all I see. But we got a little bit of rot right here, and just to remind you, this is the frame that would not pass inspection. Look how solid this thing is. Big, solid cross member. Now flip this over, and you see on this side, not too bad. We have just this little bit of rust right here. A couple small holes, and that's it on this whole thing, and they would not pass this. Yeah, so, but there's nothing else wrong with it. So just to go through all that to get an inspection sticker, we had to change this because of this little bit of rust right here, which is not that big of a deal. No point in crying over spilled milk, I guess. So anyway, it's out. So if you're working on your Neon, hopefully this video will help you out. All right, so I gotta go ahead and clean the other one up, paint it up a little bit, and get ready to put it back in. Okay, so there's a look at our frame all cleaned up. I actually cut that one piece off right here. Had all the holes in it. I welded another plate on there. So it looks really good. So there shouldn't be no issues with it now. And on this side, so it looks really good. I took my welder, filled in some holes there, and fixed that. So this one's ready to go back on. So after we get it back on, we'll look at it real quick and let you know how it works. Okay, everyone, some good news. We got our inspection sticker on. It passed. That little bit of work on that A-frame, cross member, if you will, and you can see we got a brand new sticker on the windshield. So that will be the end of the video. I hope this helps you guys out if you have to drop your cross member or your A-frame on your Dodge Neon. Maybe somebody will watch this video, maybe 5 or 10 people, I don't know. But until my next video, guys, I appreciate you guys checking out my channel. Until my next video, I'll see you later.